Welcome the rare gems. You are not for everyone, and that is your power. If you're a Sigma female, you've probably noticed something strange about the way people react to you. Some admire you, some resent you, and some can't seem to get you out of their heads, whether they love you or hate you. You walk into a room, and the energy shifts. Not because you're loud or demanding attention, but because your presence alone is enough to make people feel something. That's the paradox of being a Sigma female. You trigger people without even trying. Your independence makes some feel inspired and others feel threatened. Your silence is misinterpreted as arrogance, even though you're just observing. Your ability to walk away without looking back drives people insane, because they're used to control, drama, and validation seeking. But not you. You move differently, and that's why people react so strongly to you. They don't just like or dislike you, they obsess. They overanalyze your actions, project their insecurities onto you, and sometimes even try to pull you down. But here's what you need to remember. This is the price of being rare. The world has always struggled to handle women who don't follow the script. And you? You tore up the script a long time ago. But here's the truth. You don't need to change. The very things that make people uncomfortable are the same things that make you unforgettable. So if you've ever wondered why people react so strongly to you, this video will break it all down. Stay until the end, because once you understand why people love, hate, and obsess over you, you'll stop caring and start owning exactly who you are. Let's dive into 11 reasons why people either hate, love, or become obsessed with you. Number 1. You're an unapologetic mirror of their insecurities. Let's get one thing straight. Most people don't even realize why they dislike you. They just know that when you walk into a room, something about you makes them uncomfortable. They'll call you arrogant, cold, or too independent. But if you strip away the surface-level insults, you'll find the real reason. You remind them of what they're not. Your confidence isn't just confidence to them. It's a painful reflection of their self-doubt. Your independence? It highlights their reliance on others for validation, security, or direction. Your ability to walk away without fear. That's a slap in the face to those who stay in situations they hate because they're too afraid to leave. You don't expose their weaknesses intentionally, but your existence alone forces them to see what they've been avoiding about themselves. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people don't want to confront their own flaws. It's easier to blame you than to ask, why does her confidence bother me? Or, why do I feel threatened by a woman who doesn't need approval? Instead of working on themselves, they make you the problem. You become the villain in their story simply because you refuse to shrink to make them comfortable. But here's the key. This is not your burden to carry. Their insecurities are not your responsibility to fix, soften, or accommodate. Let them project. Let them talk. Because deep down, they're not mad at you. They're mad at their own reflection. And that's why they can't stop watching you. Number 2. You're rare, and rare things are always obsessed over. In a world full of conformity, you stand out like a diamond in a sea of stones. You don't fit into any category, and that's exactly what makes you irresistible. You're not a follower, not a leader in the conventional sense, and you sure as hell don't march to anyone else's beat. You march to your own, and that's what makes people lose their minds trying to figure you out. People are obsessed with labels. They want to know exactly where you fit, how they should treat you, and how to understand your every move. But with you, they can't. You refuse to be boxed in, and that drives them insane. You're a puzzle they can't solve, a mystery they can't unravel, and that's where the fascination begins. The rarer something is, the more valuable it becomes. And you? You're not just rare, you're one of a kind. There's no one like you, and that's both terrifying and magnetic. People are drawn to you, not because you're perfect, but because you're unapologetically yourself. You don't need to fit in, and that makes you a standout in every room you enter. But this rarity comes at a cost. People either admire you or obsess over you. Some will feel privileged to be in your presence, while others will be consumed with the idea of figuring you out, of trying to possess what they can't fully understand. But here's the truth. You can't be owned. You're a unique force in a world that craves originality, and that's why people will always keep trying to figure you out. The question is, do you care? Number 3. Your absence hits harder than most people's presence. Most people think power is about making noise, demanding attention, or dominating conversations, but you prove them wrong simply by disappearing. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't give people the satisfaction of a dramatic exit. You just leave. And that's what unnerves them the most. They expect you to seek closure, to explain yourself, to fight for a spot in their lives. But you don't play that game. When you decide someone no longer deserves your time, you detach instantly, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. And that's when they realize something terrifying. Your absence feels louder than most people's presence. They feel it in the silence, in the space you used to occupy, in the energy shift when you're no longer around. At first, they act indifferent, pretending it doesn't bother them. But then something happens. They start checking if you'll reach out. They replay conversations in their heads, trying to figure out where they lost you. They bring up your name in random conversations, pretending they don't care while secretly hoping for some reaction. And when they realize you're really gone, it stings. Why? Because people are used to being needed. They're used to others seeking validation, begging for another chance, or leaving doors open. But you leave doors shut, locked, and barricaded. You don't play the let's talk game. You don't give them a chance to manipulate their way back in. You just move forward, without hesitation, without apology, without looking back. That's what turns admirers into enemies. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you showed them how easily replaceable they are in your world. Number 4. You never need them. And that's the ultimate power move. Dependency is what most people lean on in relationships. It's the unspoken foundation that fuels so many connections. People crave attention, approval, and validation from others to feel seen, to feel significant. But you don't need anyone. You don't rely on anyone to feel complete. And that, right there, is the ultimate power move. People don't know what to do with someone like you. In a world full of people trying to hold on to others for security, you stand as a living contradiction. You don't cling. You don't beg for attention. You don't play the game of constantly needing someone else to feel good about yourself. Instead, you stand strong on your own 2 feet, and that sends a message louder than anything else. When people realize you don't need them, whether it's in a friendship, a relationship, or any kind of connection, they're instantly hooked. They've never experienced someone like you. Most people live with the fear that they'll lose the people they rely on, but you operate with the power of knowing you could walk away at any moment, and do it without hesitation. This ability to detach, to walk away without regret, freaks people out. It's an enigma they can't crack. Because the truth is, the more someone knows you don't need them, the more they start craving your presence, not because of what you give them, but because of what they can't get from you. They can't control you. They can't rely on you for constant validation, and that drives them mad with obsession. Your independence isn't about rejecting others. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. And in a world built on neediness, your unshakable self-sufficiency is the most magnetic thing about you. Number 5. You show love in unconventional but powerful ways. When it comes to love, the world is obsessed with grand gestures. The big flashy moves that everyone can see. The flowers, the romantic dinners, the over-the-top declarations. But you don't need any of that to show how much you care. Your love doesn't need to be loud or flashy to be powerful. In fact, it's the quiet, subtle moments that speak the loudest. You express love in ways most people won't even recognize at first, and that's exactly what makes it so unique. It's not about what you give, but about the way you protect the space around someone you care about. You don't overwhelm them with constant attention, but you instinctively know when to step back and give them the breathing room they need to thrive. You're the person who anticipates needs without being asked. You know when someone's feeling off, even before they say a word, and instead of pressuring them to open up, you offer them a quiet, comforting presence that speaks volumes. Sometimes it's about holding space in silence, because you understand that not every moment requires words to communicate love. Some people need reassurance, not in grand speeches, but in your willingness to just be there. No questions, no expectations. The beauty of the way you love is that it doesn't demand recognition. But for those who truly understand it, it's priceless. They see the depth of your care in your actions, in your quiet moments of support, and in the way you quietly lift them up without needing anything in return. For them, it's the kind of love that stays long after the grand gestures fade. You show love in ways that make people feel safe, seen, and understood, and that's why those who get it cherish you deeply. Number 6. You speak the truth. No one else dares to say. While most people dance around the truth, carefully wrapping their words in layers of politeness and sugarcoating, you cut straight to the heart of the matter. You speak the truth that others are too afraid to even whisper. The uncomfortable truths, the raw facts that no one wants to confront. You don't shy away from reality just because it's hard to swallow. In a world obsessed with keeping the peace and avoiding conflict, your words hit like a splash of cold water. At first they might sting. People might bristle, uncomfortable with how sharp your honesty can be. But that's the thing. It's exactly what they need to hear. You don't pander to fragile egos or tiptoe around delicate feelings. You speak because you know that people deserve the truth, no matter how unfiltered it may be. And here's the real power. Your honesty commands respect. While others may avoid the tough conversations, you face them head-on. You expose the illusions people hide behind and force them to confront what's really going on. It's easy to be liked when you tell people what they want to hear. It's far harder to be respected when you tell them what they need to hear, and yet you manage to do both. The beauty of your truth-telling is that it's not about being blunt for the sake of it. It's not about tearing people down. It's about cutting through the noise and reminding people that reality isn't something to fear. You hold up the mirror, not to make them uncomfortable, but to make them better. It's rare, and that's why people, whether they admit it or not, are drawn to your honesty like a moth to a flame. They may not always like what you say, but they know it's the truth, and deep down, they respect you for it. Number 7. You redefine strength in a feminine way. For too long, the world has tried to put strength and femininity into two separate boxes. If a woman is strong, she must be harsh, aggressive, or intimidating. If she's feminine, she must be delicate, submissive, or dependent. You shatter that entire mindset. You prove that strength doesn't have to be loud. You don't need to raise your voice to command respect. You don't have to dominate a room to have power. Your strength is in your presence, in your ability to hold your ground without needing to prove yourself. You own your space without demanding it. At the same time, you embrace your femininity, but on your terms. You don't see softness as weakness. You understand that grace, patience, and intuition are just as powerful as resilience, discipline, and independence. You don't reject traditional femininity, but you also don't let society's definition limit you. You choose what it means for you, and that's what unsettles people. Some expect strength to come with hostility, but you don't need to be cruel to be powerful. Others expect femininity to mean submission, but you don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You are both, effortlessly. This balance is why some people admire you, and why others don't know how to handle you. Some women feel inspired because you show them they don't have to choose between being strong and being feminine. Others feel threatened because you exist outside the mold they were told to fit into. Some men respect you because they see your power, while others fear you because they can't control you. But through it all, you remain unshaken. Because your strength isn't about proving a point. It's about being who you truly are. And that's the kind of power no one can take away. Number 9. You make people feel seen in ways they never have before. You have a rare gift. The ability to truly see people. Not just the surface-level traits they show to the world, but the layers beneath. Where most glance over the little details, you notice them, the slight shift in someone's posture, the hesitation in their voice, the unspoken thoughts flickering across their eyes. You're not looking to judge or pry, you just see. And it's more than most people can handle. This kind of perception doesn't come from overanalyzing. It's a deep, almost intuitive understanding of human nature. You don't need to be told everything to grasp what someone's going through. You notice the small, unspoken signs that others might miss. And in doing so, you make people feel seen in ways they never have before. For some, this can be unnerving. It's rare to encounter someone who truly recognizes you in your most raw, unguarded state. The way you see people, without them needing to say a word, often feels like a mirror being held up to their most hidden parts. It's a beautiful gift, but it can also make others feel vulnerable. But that vulnerability, it's not something you exploit. In fact, it's the opposite. You make people feel safe enough to drop their walls because they know you're not going to judge them for what you see. In your presence, they don't have to pretend to be anything they're not. You give them the rare feeling that they are understood completely and without question. And that's why people are drawn to you. You don't just hear their words, you hear their hearts. You make them feel like they matter, not because of what they project, but because of what they truly are. And that kind of connection is rare, real, and impossible to forget. Number 10. You withhold just enough to keep them hooked. You're not the type to spill every detail of your life, constantly seeking the spotlight or drowning others in your personal drama. You know the power of restraint. Where others overshare, you give just enough. Enough to intrigue, enough to make people curious, but never too much to satisfy their need to fully understand you. It's a delicate balance, and you've mastered it effortlessly. By withholding just the right amount of information, you create a sense of mystery that others can't resist trying to unravel. The more they want to know, the more they fill in the blanks with their own assumptions, and with every guess they make, they become more invested. They start to wonder, what's behind that calm exterior? What's really going on in their mind? You don't play games to be manipulative. It's simply how you protect your inner world. You understand the strength in keeping some things to yourself. You don't need to share everything because, honestly, your presence alone is captivating enough. People are drawn to you not because of what you tell them, but because of what you don't say. The absence of full disclosure leaves a tantalizing sense of the unknown that's hard to ignore. In a world where everyone is desperate for attention, where oversharing is the norm, you stand out. You're the person everyone's talking about because you've left them with more questions than answers. The more they try to understand you, the more elusive you become, and it drives them crazy in the best way. By withholding just enough, you don't need to chase attention or force connections. They come to you not just for the things you've revealed, but for the enigma you've carefully crafted. You don't need to explain yourself. The mystery is the draw, and it's enough to keep them coming back for more. Number 11. You're a deep thinker in a world of shallow distractions. Let's be real. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They're chasing trends, scrolling mindlessly, filling their time with distractions just to avoid facing their own thoughts. They keep conversations light, interactions predictable, and emotions surface level, because anything deeper makes them uncomfortable. And then there's you. You don't do small talk just for the sake of it. You don't care about the latest drama, gossip, or what's trending if it lacks substance. You ask real questions. You explore real ideas. You don't just listen to respond, you listen to understand. And in a world obsessed with noise, your depth is both rare and intimidating. People who crave something real are drawn to you like a magnet. You make them feel heard in a way they never have before. You challenge them to think beyond what they've been told. You create space for raw truths, deep conversations, and moments of genuine connection that shake them awake from their routine existence. But not everyone can handle it. Some people will feel uncomfortable around you because your presence forces them to question things they'd rather ignore. You make them aware of their own lack of depth, their avoidance of real issues, their addiction to meaningless distractions. And instead of growing from that, some will resent you for it. But here's the truth. Your depth is not the problem. The world needs people like you, people who think, question, and see beyond the surface. So don't shrink yourself to fit into shallow spaces. The right people will not only appreciate your depth, they'll crave it. At the end of the day, being a Sigma female means embracing your authenticity in a world that constantly tries to pull you into a mold. You don't fit neatly into any box, and that's your power. People may struggle to understand you, and that discomfort is often reflected in both admiration and frustration. But that's okay. The truth is, you don't need to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will appreciate your depth, your independence, or your refusal to conform. And that's the beauty of it. Those who truly get you will respect your boundaries, admire your strength, and crave the energy you offer because it's real and it's rare. You don't need to seek validation or chase after approval, and that's what makes you so magnetic. It's your confidence, your ability to stand alone, and your refusal to play by anyone else's rules that draws people in. They may not always like you, but they can't ignore you either. And that's something most will never experience. So embrace your uniqueness, your complexity, and your authenticity. You don't need to apologize for who you are or shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Whether people hate you, love you, or can't help but obsess over you, it's all part of the powerful magnetic energy you carry. Let them talk. Let them guess. But most importantly, let them see you for who you truly are. One of a kind. Unapologetically yourself. And if they don't get it, that's their loss, not yours. Keep walking your path, because it's one that only you can blaze. Thank you for watching The Rare Gems, and God bless you.